It was just another busy Tuesday morning at the Skyward Airlines terminal. Travelers bustled by, luggage wheels clicking, coffee cups in hand, faces full of excitement or fatigue. Among them, Marcus and Angela stood quietly near the first-class check-in counter. They looked like any regular couple. Marcus in a simple navy blazer, Angela in a modest yet elegant dress. Nothing flashy, no expensive watches or designer bags to catch an eye. But appearances can be deceiving, because Marcus and Angela weren't just any travelers. They were the owners of Skyward Airlines, a company they'd built from scratch, a dream they'd nurtured for years. But today they packed light, kept humble, and hoped for a smooth flight to a well-earned vacation. "Good morning," said Sarah, the young flight attendant behind the first-class counter. She smiled politely, but her eyes quickly darted to Marcus and Angela, then back at their tickets. Her smile faltered. There was something about the couple that didn't match what she expected first-class passengers to look like. "May I see your tickets, please?" Angela handed them over. Sarah glanced at the tickets. They were indeed first class. But then she hesitated. Without thinking, she blurted out, "I'm sorry, but are you sure you can afford first class?" The words hung in the air. Sharp. Cold. Marcus blinked, confused, then surprised. Angela froze for a moment, their polite patience slipping for a split second. "Excuse me?" Marcus said, voice calm but firm. Sarah immediately realized she'd crossed a line. Around them, other travelers stopped mid-step, watching the interaction unfold. Sarah's cheeks burned. It dawned on her that the couple probably noticed the assumption in her voice, that she had judged them by their clothing, their quiet demeanor, their skin color, and assumed they didn't belong in first class. Angela looked Sarah in the eyes, calm, unwavering. "Yes," she said softly. "We have first-class tickets. Actually, Marcus and I own this airline." The words landed like a thunderclap. Sarah's eyes widened. Her mouth opened, but no words came out at first. She was stunned, not knowing whether to apologize or retreat. Marcus spoke again, voice steady but powerful. "Maybe it's good you know this now, before you judge the next person the same way. Sometimes appearances fool us." There was silence. A heavy silence filled with mixed emotions. Shock, shame, understanding. And a crowd that had grown, quietly around them. "It's okay," Angela added with a small smile. "We all have things to learn." Sarah nodded quickly, cheeks flushing deeper. "I'm so sorry. I was wrong to say that." Marcus smiled kindly. "Thank you for saying that." Then he stepped forward. "But this isn't just about one mistake. It's about changing how this airline treats every passenger." Sarah's smile was genuine now, her nervousness replaced with respect. As they moved past the counter, Sarah said quietly, "Please let me know if I can do anything to make your flight better." Marcus and Angela didn't just want a pleasant flight, they wanted change. Because this moment wasn't just a flash of embarrassment or a simple apology. It was the beginning of a new chapter for Skyward Airlines, and for everyone who ever felt judged before they could speak. Settling into their plush first-class seats, Marcus and Angela allowed themselves a moment to breathe. The soft hum of the plane's engines felt almost meditative, a contrast to the tension they'd just endured. But beneath the surface, both were already turning over the encounter with Sarah in their minds. Angela looked at Marcus, her fingers lightly tracing the embossed airline logo on her ticket. "It still stings," she admitted quietly, eyes distant. "That assumption, that ignorance. It's more than just a mistake. It's a reflection of something deeper." Marcus nodded, his gaze fixed out the window at planes taxiing on the runway. "It's easy for people to forget what we've built, to see only what's on the surface and fill in the blanks with their own biases. But that's the problem. Assumptions shaped by color, class, and stereotypes, not reality." Their story was layered. Years of sacrifice, late nights, early mornings, navigating an industry historically dominated by others. Together, they had crafted Skyward Airlines into a company praised for innovation and inclusivity. Yet moments like today reminded them that progress outside the boardroom was slower and often invisible. Across the aisle, Sarah returned with a carefully folded menu and an apologetic smile. "I've arranged a special meal for you both," she said softly. "Please let me know if there's anything else you need." Angela smiled warmly, touched by the gesture, and Marcus nodded in gratitude. The tension between them had eased, replaced now by an understanding that sometimes change begins with a single conversation. As the plane ascended into the clouds, the cabin lights dimmed. Marcus leaned closer to Angela. This isn't just about us, or even Skyward Airlines. It's about what we want to stand for, about rewriting not just corporate policies, but social narratives." Angela's eyes sparkled. "And we start right here, right now, with Sarah. She doesn't realize it, but she's part of this too." Throughout the flight, Sarah checked on them with a growing sense of humility and respect. She shared stories about growing up in a small town with limited opportunities, and how working in the airline gave her hope for something bigger. Marcus and Angela listened, recognizing that prejudice often sprouts from fear and ignorance, not malice. When the drink service began, Marcus raised his glass of champagne in a gentle toast toward Sarah. "To new beginnings," he said, voice sincere. "To growth," Sarah replied, her eyes glistening. When the flight began its descent, Angela felt a resolve strengthening inside her. "We'll schedule a training session," she said quietly to Marcus. "Workshops about unconscious bias, inclusivity, real conversations for everyone, from flight crews to executives." Marcus smiled, proud. "And we'll make sure those lessons shape policies, changes that can't be ignored or forgotten." Landing was smoother than either remembered, and as the plane taxied to the gate, Marcus and Angela caught the eyes of other passengers, some smiling, some curious, others thoughtful. They knew their story would ripple beyond their own experience. As they disembarked, they passed Sarah once more. The flight attendant's hands trembled slightly as she handed them a small, handwritten note tucked inside a complimentary folder. Angela unfolded it. "Thank you for your kindness and patience. You have opened my eyes today. I promise to be a better person, and to help make Skyward a place that welcomes everyone with respect." Sarah Marcus squeezed Angela's hand, a shared warmth seeping through. This is what it's about, not just wealth or power, but changing hearts and minds. That day, long after the plane had emptied and the terminal's buzz had settled, Marcus and Angela sat in a corner office overlooking the runway. They looked out at the planes preparing for takeoff and landing, and they knew their journey was just beginning. This wasn't about a single flight or a single interaction. It was about a legacy of courage, of compassion, and of breaking barriers. Because true leadership, in business and in life, was about lifting others up and making sure no one was ever judged by the color of their skin or the clothes they wore, but by the content of their character. Days turned into weeks, but the encounter at the terminal lingered in Marcus and Angela's minds like a spark ready to ignite a flame. Back at Skyward Airlines' corporate offices, they wasted no time turning intention into action. The first step was meeting with the human resources team. In a sunlit conference room, Marcus and Angela shared their experience and vision. They spoke honestly about how assumptions, prejudices, and unconscious bias could undermine the very foundations of their company's values. Angela's voice was steady but impassioned. "We have built something beautiful here, but a company is only as strong as the culture it nurtures. If even one employee feels entitled to judge based on appearances, then we have more work to do." Marcus nodded. "This isn't about punishment or blame. It's about education, empathy, and accountability. We will launch comprehensive training programs, create safe channels for dialogue, and foster a culture that lives our mission every single day." The team listened attentively, some nodding, others taking notes, but all understanding the gravity of the moment. Meanwhile, Marcus and Angela reached out to Sarah. They invited her to join a special task force dedicated to frontline employee development. They wanted her perspective, ideas, and commitment to turn a difficult moment into a catalyst for change. At first, Sarah was hesitant. She worried about confronting the mistakes she'd made and opening herself up to scrutiny. But when Marcus and Angela assured her there was no judgment, only opportunity, she accepted. The training workshops that followed were unlike anything Skyward Airlines had ever seen. They weren't dry lectures or mandatory presentations. Instead, they were honest conversations, storytelling sessions, and guided reflections designed to build awareness and connection. Sarah found herself sharing her background, her fears, and her hopes. Other employees spoke up about their experiences, some painful, some inspiring. They all began to see each other not as airline staff or passengers, but as people striving for dignity and respect. Marcus and Angela made it clear that this was a company-wide journey. From the front desk to the executive suite, Marcus said in one session, we all carry responsibility for how Skyward is remembered, not just as a business, but as a beacon of fairness. The momentum grew. Policies were reviewed, hiring practices refined, promotions and rewards aligned to reinforce the core values. Flyers and posters with affirmations like "See beyond the surface" and "Diversity is our strength" appeared in employee lounges and break rooms. But perhaps most importantly, trust began to rebuild. A few months after the incident, the company hosted a Diversity Day, a vibrant celebration filled with food, music, and stories from employees across backgrounds and roles. Sarah stood among them, radiant with pride. She had grown as a professional and as a person, and she knew the company had too. At the heart of this transformation were Marcus and Angela. Their ability to face pain without bitterness, to lead with vision and heart, inspired many. They held regular town hall meetings, where everyone's voice mattered, and policies were seen and felt as living commitments. One evening, after the office had quieted, and the last of the day's light faded into a soft glow, Angela looked over. Financial reports showing Skyward's rising customer satisfaction and employee engagement scores. Marcus joined her, handing her a fresh cup of tea. "This is the kind of success that matters," he said. Angela smiled. "When people feel seen and valued, they don't just work, they thrive." Their journey had begun with an uncomfortable confrontation but was blossoming into a profound cultural shift. Still, they both knew the road ahead was long and winding. Old prejudices and stereotypes wouldn't vanish overnight. But with every step, every honest conversation, every courageous decision, they were shaping an airline that reflected the future they dreamed of. The story of the black couple told they couldn't afford first class had become a powerful reminder to many, not just inside the walls of Skyward Airlines, but beyond, that no matter who you are, where you come from, or how you look, you deserve respect. You deserve dignity. And sometimes, the greatest change begins with the simple act of speaking your truth. The weeks following the Diversity Day celebration brought an unexpected challenge. An anonymous message appeared on social media. A video clip capturing the very moment when Sarah first told Marcus and Angela that they couldn't afford first class. The message went viral overnight, sparking a storm of emotions across the country. Some defended Sarah, claiming she was simply mistaken and human. Others condemned the incident as a glaring example of racial bias still entrenched in everyday life. The hashtag #KnowYourPlace trended, accompanied by fierce debates, heartfelt stories, and calls for accountability. Marcus and Angela awoke to the storm with a mixture of emotions. The issue they'd hoped to resolve quietly through education had exploded onto the public stage, threatening to overshadow the progress the company was making. Angela sat in their home office, scrolling through comments and posts, some supportive, others harsh. It's bigger than we thought," she murmured. Marcus nodded gravely. "Yes, but it's also a chance to lead not just within Skyward, but nationally, to show the world how you confront hard truths." The couple called an urgent meeting with their executive team. "We have to address this head-on," Marcus said firmly. "No spin, no deflection. We own it, all of it. The good, the bad, and what we're doing to fix the bad." Angela added, "We will release a public statement acknowledging the harm caused by assumptions and pledges to continue fighting bias, not just in our airline, but in society." Sarah, meanwhile, was overwhelmed. She had anxiously watched the story unfold, fearing backlash and repercussions. Yet the support from Marcus and Angela remained steadfast. One evening, the three met in a quiet corner of the company headquarters. "Sarah," Angela said gently, "this moment is painful, but it's also your moment, our moment, a moment to grow, to be accountable, and to help shape the future." Sarah took a deep breath. "I'm scared. Scared I let you down. Scared this will overshadow everything." Marcus reached out. "We believe in you. We believe in all of us. Mistakes don't define us. How we respond does." The public response unfolded quickly. Marcus and Angela's statement went viral, praised for its honesty, humility, and commitment. Sarah shared her own reflection in a heartfelt video, acknowledging her mistake, pledging to learn, and dedicating herself to fostering inclusion and respect. As weeks passed, the controversy evolved from condemnation to conversation. Skyward Airlines hosted panel discussions featuring experts, activists, employees, and community leaders, all focused on dismantling bias and building understanding. Customers called in expressing gratitude for the company's transparency and efforts. Some even shared their own stories of bias and hope for change. Within the company, the atmosphere shifted again. The earlier trainings and policies strengthened with new urgency, and more employees volunteered to participate in dialogue sessions. Marcus and Angela remained at the forefront, not as distant CEOs, but as active listeners and facilitators of transformation. One rainy afternoon, Marcus stood at the window of his office reflecting. "This has been one of our toughest challenges," he said to Angela, "but also one of the most important." Angela smiled softly. "We're not just building an airline. We're building a community, one that stands for dignity, respect, and true equality." And as the rain traced glittering paths down the glass, they both felt a fierce determination to keep moving forward, no matter how difficult the journey. Because true change, like the skies they flew through, was limitless. Several months had passed since the viral incident, and the atmosphere at Skyward Airlines shifted from turmoil to transformation. The company had become a beacon of change, not only for its inclusive policies, but because of the authentic leadership Marcus and Angela demonstrated. That afternoon, Marcus found Sarah waiting in the spacious training room, her fingers nervously twisting a pen. "Thanks for coming," Marcus said warmly, gesturing to a seat. Sarah settled in, eyes fixed but hopeful. "We're launching a new mentorship program for frontline employees," Marcus began. "You'll be one of the mentors, a leader. Your experience, your growth, is part of the company's narrative now. People will look to you not just as a staff member, but as a symbol of change." Sarah's eyes shimmered with a blend of pride and vulnerability. I'm honored but also scared. I still feel like I have a lot to learn." Angela, who had joined them quietly, smiled kindly. "That humility is your greatest strength. It's okay not to have all the answers. What matters is the willingness to keep learning and to listen." Over the following months, Sarah flourished in her mentorship role. She guided new employees through the complexities of customer service, fostering empathy, patience, and awareness. Her own journey from uncertainty to confidence inspired many. Marcus and Angela watched proudly, but their work was far from done. The airline's new training programs blossomed into partnerships with community organizations, schools, and advocacy groups dedicated to advancing equity in the industry and beyond. Skyward Airlines sponsored scholarships, began outreach initiatives, and hosted forums on diversity and inclusion that attracted wide attention. Back at home, the couple's bond deepened under the weight of responsibility and purpose. One evening, Angela sat at their kitchen table, surrounded by legal documents and strategy notes for a national conference on racial equity in business. "Sometimes I wonder," she said quietly, "if the cost we pay, the public scrutiny, the pressure, is worth it." Marcus reached over, squeezing her hand. "It has to be. For us, for our employees, for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong." Their children, hearing the conversations from the next room, grew up witnessing leadership rooted in courage and kindness, lessons that would shape their own futures. The story that began with a moment of ignorance had woven itself into a tapestry of resilience and hope. but challenges would continue to arise. Competitors tried to exploit the controversy to damage Skyward's reputation. Some customers resisted the changes. Internally, not every employee embraced the new culture readily. Yet rooted in their shared conviction and led by Marcus and Angela's example, the airline endured and evolved. One night, Marcus stood on their balcony, gazing at the stars above. "Look at that sky," he mused. "Infinite, boundless. That's what this journey feels like." Angela leaned against him. "And just like the sky, our journey is ongoing, full of possibilities and open horizons." Together, they vowed to keep flying higher, not just as business leaders, but as pioneers of progress. Because some stories don't end with a single moment. They live on in the lives they touch, in the hearts they change, and in the legacy they leave behind. A year had passed since that fateful morning at the Skyward Airlines terminal, and the company was now widely celebrated for its transformative journey toward inclusivity and equity. Marcus and Angela's decision to face the incident openly had sparked not only corporate reform, but a movement in the airline industry. But for the couple, the real success wasn't just in awards or profits. It was in the sense of unity they had helped build. One autumn afternoon, Angela received a call that would mark a new chapter. "It's the International Aviation Summit," the voice on the line said warmly. "They want you and Marcus to keynote the upcoming conference on diversity and leadership." Angela shared the news with Marcus over coffee that morning. "This is huge," she laughed. "Our message will reach leaders from all over the world." Marcus smiled, though a flicker of nervousness surfaced. "It's a responsibility, too, to speak for those who've been overlooked and underestimated." The summit was held in a grand hall filled with CEOs, policymakers, and activists. Angela and Marcus took the stage with confidence, their story unfolding from the moment of confrontation with Sarah to the sweeping changes they'd championed. "We could have hidden behind embarrassment or denial," Marcus said, "but we chose transparency. Because real leadership means owning your failures as much as your successes." Angela added, "The airline industry, like many others, has a long way to go. But every step forward invites more steps. Inclusion isn't a policy, it's a culture we must nurture." The audience erupted in applause. Many spoke afterward, sharing their own challenges, eager to partner and learn. Back in the office, the couple's story became a catalyst for innovation. Skyward Airlines expanded mentorship programs, launched internships for underrepresented youth, and created forums for honest dialogue between employees and customers. Sarah, now a senior customer service trainer, was invited to share her journey at schools and community events, inspiring those who had once doubted themselves. Yet, despite the success, Marcus and Angela remained humble. One evening, watching the sunset paint the sky with fiery hues, Angela turned to Marcus. "This journey changed us, made us stronger, but it also reminded me of something. Progress is never a straight line." Marcus nodded. "True. We'll face setbacks and resistance, but we'll keep moving forward, because that's what this is about: resilience." Their children grew up witnessing their parents' unwavering commitment to justice and kindness. They understood that wealth and power were not just privileges but tools to shape a better world. As the seasons turned, Marcus and Angela reflected on how a simple act of kindness and courage had transformed not only their company, but their lives. The why? Flight attendant's offhand remark had become more than a mistake. It had sparked a revolution, a reminder that change begins when we challenge assumptions and open our hearts. And as they looked toward the future, limitless as the skies they traversed, Marcus and Angela knew their story was far from over. It was a legacy in motion. The months that followed the International Aviation Summit were marked by an ever-strengthening sense of resolve for Marcus and Angela. Skyward Airlines had become more than just a business. It was a symbol of what could be accomplished when courage met conviction. One crisp morning, Marcus walked into the company's innovation lab, a space buzzing with engineers, designers, and strategists brainstorming new ways to improve passenger experience. The air was thick with excitement and possibility. "Morning, Marcus," called out Jenna, the lead designer. "We just finalized the prototype for the new inclusive cabin layout. It's designed to be welcoming and accessible to all passengers, regardless of ability or background. Marcus smiled, the pride swelling in his chest. This was exactly the kind of progress they dreamed of. Not just policy changes, but tangible transformations that showed care and respect for every traveler. Angela joined them shortly after, and the trio reviewed plans that included quiet zones for sensory-sensitive passengers, culturally diverse art displays throughout the cabin, and flexible seating designed to accommodate families of all sizes. "This isn't just about comfort," Angela said firmly. "It's about signal, showing every passenger, you belong here, you are valued." The team agreed that this project would soon set a new industry standard. Later that day, the company held a celebration marking the progress since the viral incident. Sarah was honored as Employee of the Year, recognized for her growth and leadership. She took the stage humbly, thanking Marcus and Angela for their guidance. "I've learned that mistakes don't define us," she said softly, "but how we rise from them does. I'm so grateful for the chance to become a better person and to help others do the same." Marcus caught Angela's gaze from the back of the room, and they smiled, a reflection of a shared journey. But even as Skyward Airlines thrived, realities outside the airport gates reminded them of the ongoing challenges. News of racial injustice protests, political tensions, and societal divides filled the headlines daily. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Angela sat with Marcus in their living room. "I wonder sometimes," she said, "if what we're doing here can really make a difference out there, in the broader world." Marcus reached for her hand. "Change is never fast or easy. But every conversation we start, every door we open here, echoes beyond these walls. Sometimes, the most important victories are the ones you can't see yet." Their home had become a refuge of hope and determination, a place where dreams met reality through hard work and love. As the stars began to twinkle outside, Marcus and Angela felt a quiet confidence. They were united not just by marriage, but by a shared mission: to continue building a world where no one's worth was measured by assumptions or appearances. Because in the end, the story of a flight attendant's mistaken judgment had transformed into a tale of empowerment, a reminder that dignity and respect are the greatest first-class experiences anyone could receive. The following months brought new opportunities and fresh challenges for Marcus and Angela. Skyward Airlines had become a shining example of transformation, yet the couple knew real change required constant vigilance. One afternoon, as Marcus reviewed reports on employee satisfaction, Angela returned from a community outreach event, her face glowing with a mixture of exhaustion and fulfillment. "We just heard from a teenage girl who attended our aviation camp," Angela said, settling beside him. "She told us she never imagined someone like her could dream of working in aviation. Now she thinks it's possible." Marcus smiled. "That's exactly why we do this. To open doors no one thought existed." Despite their successes, they remained grounded by the knowledge that prejudice could still lurk in unexpected places. Skyward continued to invest in ongoing training and created anonymous channels where employees and customers could safely report concerns. Sarah, now head of customer relations training, was instrumental in these initiatives. She often visited the front lines, listening carefully to stories and offering support. One evening, Sarah invited Marcus and Angela to join a workshop with new employees. "Today, we're going to hear stories, real experiences about bias and belonging," she explained. "Our goal is to build empathy and understanding from the start." The room was filled with nervous energy as participants shared moments of discomfort, surprise, and growth. Some recounted times they had been judged unfairly. Others expressed moments when they'd unconsciously biased others. Marcus and Angela listened with open hearts, deeply moved by the courage of so many willing to confront difficult truths. After the session, Angela spoke. "Thank you all for your honesty. We want Skyward to be a place where everyone feels safe and valued, and that starts with each of us, every day." Marcus added, "We believe in you. Together, we will keep moving forward." Outside, news of Skyward's commitments and community engagement continued to spread. Other airlines began to take notice, inspired by their example. Yet Marcus and Angela knew that progress was a journey, sometimes slow, sometimes painful, but always worth pursuing. One late night, Marcus found Angela looking at old photos of the airline's early days. "Remember this?" She smiled, holding up a faded picture of a tiny office filled with stacks of paper and hope. "We've come so far," Marcus said softly, "and I believe we'll go even further." As they looked toward the future, the couple reaffirmed their shared purpose: to build not just an airline, but a legacy of inclusion, respect, and unwavering dignity, a legacy that would soar far beyond the skies. The years that followed brought continued growth, victories, and hard-earned lessons for Marcus, Angela, and Skyward Airlines. The company had become synonymous with inclusivity, but Marcus and Angela knew their work wasn't done. Change starts within, but it must ripple outward. 1. Spring morning. Marcus found himself sitting in a community hall, surrounded by aspiring young aviators from all backgrounds. Children and teenagers eagerly awaited the chance to hear from the owners of the airline who had so dramatically reshaped its culture. Angela took the stage first, her voice steady with passion. "When we started Skyward Airlines, we wanted to build more than a business," she said. "We wanted to build a family, a community where everyone feels welcome no matter who they are." Marcus followed, sharing the story of that early morning confrontation at the terminal, where assumptions nearly cost them dignity. "Sometimes," he said, "those moments become the biggest opportunities to challenge what we think we know, to grow stronger, and to make sure no one else faces the same hurt." The room was filled with quiet nods, faces lifted in hope. Later, as the young aviators mingled, a teenager approached Marcus nervously. "Mr. Johnson, I've always dreamed of flying, but I didn't see people like me in the cockpit. Your story gives me hope." Marcus smiled. "And you should know, your dreams are not just possible, they're necessary. The skies belong to all of us." Back at Skyward's headquarters, the momentum from these outreach programs led to the creation of the Skyward Scholarship Fund, offering full support for students from underrepresented communities to pursue careers in aviation. Angela and Marcus poured their hearts into overseeing the fund, meeting scholarship recipients personally whenever possible. One evening, as they reviewed applications, Angela sighed softly. "It's incredible, the talent and passion out there waiting to be unlocked." Marcus nodded. "This is how we change the world, one person at a time." Yet despite the success, challenges persisted. The airline industry remained competitive, and Skyward faced pressures, from skeptical investors, from competitors unsettled by their progressive stance, and from ongoing societal tensions. But Marcus and Angela stood resolute. They knew the true measure of success wasn't just business growth, but the strength of the community they built. One evening, as they watched an incoming flight land under a brilliant sunset, Angela leaned into Marcus and whispered, "This journey, our journey, is bigger than we imagined." Marcus smiled. "And it's just beginning." Because no matter how high they soared or how far they came, their story was about more than flights or first-class tickets. It was about breaking barriers, uplifting voices, and reminding the world that everyone deserves to fly with dignity. The seasons rolled on, and with each passing year, Skyward Airlines carved out a place not just in the skies, but in hearts worldwide. Marcus and Angela had transformed pain into purpose, prejudice into progress, and a single moment of misunderstanding into a legacy of change. One crisp autumn morning, Marcus stood in the airport lounge, watching passengers embark on their journeys. Among the travelers were families, business people, and adventurers of every stripe. Yet what moved him most was the quiet dignity with which every individual carried their story, and the knowledge that Skyward had played a part in making those journeys possible and respectful. Angela joined him, her eyes sparkling as she held 2 tickets for a celebration flight commemorating the company's 10-year anniversary. "The journey we began together," she reflected, "has turned into something far greater than we imagined." Marcus nodded, recalling the single moment on a busy morning when assumptions threatened to cloud all their hard work. But instead of giving in to frustration, they had chosen to lead, with patience, heart, and unwavering conviction. As the Attendant plane took off that day, Passengers and crew alike felt the spirit of inclusion and respect that had become Skyward's hallmark. And for Marcus and Angela, that first-class ticket was no longer about privilege, but about opening doors and inviting everyone to fly. Because the story they'd written, beginning with Sarah's unintentional slight, had transformed lives and industries. It was a story of hope, resilience, and a future where no traveler's worth would ever be questioned. And as the sun set beyond the horizon, painting skies with gold and crimson, Marcus and Angela knew this was just the beginning of countless journeys yet to come. The end was unwritten, and the skies, like their legacy, were boundless. 5 years had passed since the celebration flight that marked Skyward Airlines' 10-year anniversary. The airline had grown exponentially, not just in size, but in its commitment to inclusivity and community engagement. Marcus and Angela had become well-respected figures in the aviation industry, often invited to speak at conferences and universities about their journey and the importance of diversity in business. One sunny afternoon, they found themselves back at the community hall where they had first shared their story with aspiring aviators. This time, they were there to celebrate the first graduating class of the Skyward Scholarship Fund. The room buzzed with excitement as families gathered to honor the achievements of the young men and women who had worked tirelessly to pursue their dreams. As Marcus and Angela took the stage, they were met with a standing ovation. The pride in their hearts swelled as they looked out at the diverse group of graduates, each one a testament to the power of opportunity and belief. "Today, we celebrate not just your achievements," Angela began, her voice steady and warm, "but the dreams you carry forward. You are the future of aviation, and we believe in each of you." Marcus continued, "Remember, the skies are not just for those who fit a mold, they are for everyone. Your stories matter and your journeys are just beginning." After the ceremony, they mingled with the graduates and their families, sharing laughter and stories. One young woman, Maya, approached them with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for believing in us," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I never thought I could be here. But your story inspired me to chase my dreams." Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of her words. "You inspire us, Maya. Keep pushing boundaries and reaching for the stars." As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the hall, Marcus and Angela stepped outside, taking a moment to reflect on how far they had come. The journey had been filled with challenges, but each obstacle had only strengthened their resolve. "Do you remember that day at the terminal?" Angela asked, a nostalgic smile on her face. "It feels like a lifetime ago," Marcus chuckled softly. "It was the spark we needed. Sometimes, the most painful moments lead to the most beautiful transformations." They stood together, watching the planes take off into the horizon, each one carrying stories, dreams, and hopes. The legacy they had built was not just about an airline. It was about creating a world where everyone felt valued and included. As they turned to leave, Angela took Marcus's hand. "We've built something incredible, but it's just the beginning. There's so much more to do." Marcus nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "Together, we'll keep flying higher." And with that, they walked into the future, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that their journey was far from over. The skies were vast, and their legacy would continue to inspire generations to come. Life after the scholarship graduation brought fresh challenges and exhilarating opportunities for Marcus and Angela. Skyward Airlines had grown into a symbol of possibility, not just an airline, but a movement toward equity and humanity in the skies. One evening, as Marcus reviewed global market expansion plans, Angela returned from a meeting with international partners. "They're eager to collaborate," she shared, her voice alive with excitement. "Skyward's story has inspired airports and companies worldwide." Marcus smiled thoughtfully. Global expansion means embracing even more diversity. Cultures, languages, histories. Our challenge is to maintain our heart and soul amid growth. Angela nodded. "It's a risk worth taking. To reach even more people. To transform aviation everywhere." With renewed vigor, they set their sights on new horizons. A coalition of airlines committed to equity and inclusion. Yet growth brought complexity. Navigating international regulations, cultural differences, and competitive markets tested their resilience. Some questioned whether Skyward could keep its founding values amid rapid change. At a global conference, Marcus addressed skeptics directly. "We will never compromise our core mission. Growth without integrity is hollow. Our passengers and employees expect more, and so do we." Angela added, "Every new flight is an opportunity, not only to transport people but to carry forward a legacy of respect and inclusion." Back home, they balanced the demands of business with family life. Their children, inspired by their parents, began considering careers that mirrored the family's commitment to social change. One quiet afternoon, Angela found Marcus on the balcony, gazing once again at the endless sky. "I still remember that moment at the terminal," he said softly. "Who would have thought it would lead here?" Angela took his hand. It was more than a moment. It was a call to rise, to lead, to change the world. Together they dreamed of the future, a sky filled with possibility, where every child could look up and see themselves soaring without limits. Their journey continued, not bound by a single story, but defined by countless lives inspired, countless barriers broken. Because sometimes, the most profound legacies start with a single flight. The global coalition that Marcus and Angela envisioned was beginning to take shape. Skyward Airlines had partnered with like-minded carriers from around the world to create a network dedicated to fostering equity and inclusion in aviation worldwide. The coalition was ambitious, aiming to establish standards that ensured fair hiring practices, cultural sensitivity training, and accessible services for all passengers, regardless of background, ability, or identity. One morning, Angela sat in a video conference with representatives from airlines across continents. Faces filled the screen, a mosaic of languages and accents united by a shared purpose. "This is more than an alliance," Angela said. "It's a movement, a way to transform skies everywhere." Marcus joined the call, his voice steady and inspiring. "Every flight crew member, every ground staff person, every passenger deserves dignity. This coalition will set the benchmark." Back at Skyward's headquarters, the momentum from these outreach programs led to the creation of the Skyward Scholarship Fund, offering full support for students from underrepresented communities to pursue careers in aviation. Angela and Marcus poured their hearts into overseeing the fund, meeting scholarship recipients personally whenever possible. One evening, as they reviewed applications, Angela sighed softly. "It's incredible, the talent and passion out there waiting to be unlocked." Marcus nodded. "This is how we change the world, one person at a time." Yet despite the success, challenges persisted. The airline industry remained competitive, and Skyward faced pressures, from skeptical investors, from competitors unsettled by their progressive stance, and from ongoing societal tensions. But Marcus and Angela stood resolute. They knew the true measure of success wasn't just business growth, but the strength of the community they built. One evening, as they watched an incoming flight land under a brilliant sunset, Angela leaned into Marcus and whispered, "This journey, our journey, is bigger than we imagined." Marcus smiled. "And it's just beginning." Because no matter how high they soared or how far they came, their story was about more than flights or first-class tickets. It was about breaking barriers, uplifting voices, and reminding the world that everyone deserves to fly with dignity. The seasons rolled on, and with each passing year, Skyward Airlines carved out a place not just in the skies, but in hearts worldwide. Marcus and Angela had transformed pain into purpose, prejudice into progress, and a single moment of misunderstanding into a legacy of change. One crisp autumn morning, Marcus stood in the airport lounge, watching passengers embark on their journeys. Among the travelers were families, business people, and adventurers of every stripe. Yet what moved him most was the quiet dignity with which every individual carried their story, and the knowledge that Skyward had played a part in making those journeys possible and respectful. Angela joined him, her eyes sparkling as she held 2 tickets for a celebration flight commemorating the company's 10-year anniversary. "The journey we began together," she reflected, "has turned into something far greater than we imagined." Marcus nodded, recalling the single moment on a busy morning when assumptions threatened to cloud all their hard work. But instead of giving in to frustration, they had chosen to lead, with patience, heart, and unwavering conviction. As the Attendant plane took off that day, passengers and crew alike felt the spirit of inclusion and respect that had become Skyward's hallmark. And for Marcus and Angela, that first-class ticket was no longer about privilege, but about opening doors and inviting everyone to fly. Because the story they'd written, beginning with Sarah's unintentional slight, had transformed lives and industries. It was a story of hope, resilience, and a future where no traveler's worth would ever be questioned. And as the sun set beyond the horizon, painting skies with gold and crimson, Marcus and Angela knew this was just the beginning of countless journeys yet to come. The end was unwritten, and the skies, like their legacy, were boundless. 5 years had passed since the celebration flight that marked Skyward Airlines' 10-year anniversary. The airline had grown exponentially, not just in size, but in its commitment to inclusivity and community engagement. Marcus and Angela had become well-respected figures in the aviation industry, often invited to speak at conferences and universities about their journey and the importance of diversity in business. One sunny afternoon, they found themselves back at the community hall where they had first shared their story with aspiring aviators. This time, they were there to celebrate the first graduating class of the Skyward Scholarship Fund. The room buzzed with excitement as families gathered to honor the achievements of the young men and women who had worked tirelessly to pursue their dreams. As Marcus and Angela took the stage, they were met with a standing ovation. The pride in their hearts swelled as they looked out at the diverse group of graduates, each one a testament to the power of opportunity and belief. "Today, we celebrate not just your achievements," Angela began, her voice steady and warm, "but the dreams you carry forward. You are the future of aviation, and we believe in each of you." Marcus continued, "Remember, the skies are not just for those who fit a mold, they are for everyone. Your stories matter and your journeys are just beginning." After the ceremony, they mingled with the graduates and their families, sharing laughter and stories. One young woman, Maya, approached them with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for believing in us," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I never thought I could be here. But your story inspired me to chase my dreams." Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of her words. "You inspire us, Maya. Keep pushing boundaries and reaching for the stars." As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the hall, Marcus and Angela stepped outside, taking a moment to reflect on how far they had come. The journey had been filled with challenges, but each obstacle had only strengthened their resolve. "Do you remember that day at the terminal?" Angela asked, a nostalgic smile on her face. "It feels like a lifetime ago," Marcus chuckled softly. "It was the spark we needed. Sometimes, the most painful moments lead to the most beautiful transformations." They stood together, watching the planes take off into the horizon, each one carrying stories, dreams, and hopes. The legacy they had built was not just about an airline. It was about creating a world where everyone felt valued and included. As they turned to leave, Angela took Marcus's hand. "We've built something incredible, but it's just the beginning. There's so much more to do." Marcus nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "Together, we'll keep flying higher." And with that, they walked into the future, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that their journey was far from over. The skies were vast, and their legacy would continue to inspire generations to come. Life after the scholarship graduation brought fresh challenges and exhilarating opportunities for Marcus and Angela. Skyward Airlines had grown into a symbol of possibility, not just an airline, but a movement toward equity and humanity in the skies. One evening, as Marcus reviewed global market expansion plans, Angela returned from a meeting with international partners. "They're eager to collaborate," she shared, her voice alive with excitement. "Skyward's story has inspired airports and companies worldwide." Marcus smiled thoughtfully. Global expansion means embracing even more diversity. Cultures, languages, histories. Our challenge is to maintain our heart and soul amid growth. Angela nodded. "It's a risk worth taking. To reach even more people. To transform aviation everywhere." With renewed vigor, they set their sights on new horizons. a coalition of airlines committed to equity and inclusion. Yet growth brought complexity. Navigating international regulations, cultural differences, and competitive markets tested their resilience. Some questioned whether Skyward could keep its founding values amid rapid change. At a global conference, Marcus addressed skeptics directly. "We will never compromise our core mission. Growth without integrity is hollow. Our passengers and employees expect more, and so do we." Angela added, "Every new flight is an opportunity, not only to transport people but to carry forward a legacy of respect and inclusion." Back home, they balanced the demands of business with family life. Their children, inspired by their parents, began considering careers that mirrored the family's commitment to social change. One quiet afternoon, Angela found Marcus on the balcony, gazing once again at the endless sky. "I still remember that moment at the terminal," he said softly. "Who would have thought it would lead here?" Angela took his hand. It was more than a moment. It was a call to rise, to lead, to change the world. Together they dreamed of the future, a sky filled with possibility, where every child could look up and see themselves soaring without limits. Their journey continued, not bound by a single story, but defined by countless lives inspired, countless barriers broken. Because sometimes, the most profound legacies start with a single flight. The global coalition that Marcus and Angela envisioned was beginning to take shape. Skyward Airlines had partnered with like-minded carriers from around the world to create a network dedicated to fostering equity and inclusion in aviation worldwide. The coalition was ambitious, aiming to establish standards that ensured fair hiring practices, cultural sensitivity training, and accessible services for all passengers, regardless of background, ability, or identity. One morning, Angela sat in a video conference with representatives from airlines across continents. Faces filled the screen, a mosaic of languages and accents united by a shared purpose. "This is more than an alliance," Angela said. "It's a movement, a way to transform skies everywhere." Marcus joined the call, his voice steady and inspiring. "Every flight crew member, every ground staff person, every passenger deserves dignity. This coalition will set the benchmark." As they stepped onto the stage to accept the award, Marcus's voice resonated with sincerity. "This award isn't just ours," he said, glancing across the audience. "It belongs to every employee who dared to dream differently, every passenger whose story inspired change, and every person who refused to be defined by others' assumptions." Angela added, "We stand here because of a commitment to seeing each other fully, to listening with empathy, and to leading with heart." The applause was warm and genuine, a testament to how far they'd come. Back at the company, newfound energy sparked creative initiatives. Skyward launched a program focused on accessibility, ensuring that passengers with disabilities found not only accommodation, but true welcome. Sarah, now a respected leader, oversaw a new training module developed with disability advocates. Her role had blossomed from frontline attendant to mentor, advocate, and storyteller. Employees volunteered for community service projects, partnering with schools and nonprofits to introduce young people to aviation careers. The scholarship program expanded its reach, supporting even more aspiring professionals. But amidst the celebrations, Marcus and Angela remained grounded, aware that progress was a continuous journey. One evening, amidst reports and meetings, Angela paused. "Marcus, every achievement feels like a milestone crossed, but also a reminder of how much more there is to do." Marcus smiled, eyes lighting with resolve. "Exactly. That's the journey we signed up for, and it's worth every step." They also began focusing on systemic challenges within the industry, advocating for more inclusive regulations and policies at national and international levels. Their voices joined others pushing for a future where diversity was standard, not exception. A major initiative involved launching cultural competency training for all airline staff, designed collaboratively with experts and community members. The training aimed to break down unconscious biases and foster authentic understanding. Sarah, who had become a masterful facilitator, led many sessions, sharing her own story to inspire transformation. One participant, a new flight attendant, confided, "I never realized how much my assumptions shaped my behavior. This isn't easy work, but it's necessary. Marcus often reminded his team, change isn't comfortable. Real growth stretches us beyond what's familiar. Meanwhile, Skyward's passenger satisfaction soared. The airline's reputation for respectful, personalized service earned loyal customers worldwide. Yet the couple knew that true success was measured not in numbers alone, but in lives transformed. One afternoon, as they toured the training center, Angela stopped in front of a mural painted by employees, a vibrant scene of diverse people united under soaring wings. She smiled. "Look at this. It tells our story, one of hope, courage, and unity." Marcus nodded. "And a promise to keep flying higher." Together, they continued steering their company not just as innovators in aviation, but as champions of humanity. Their story, a flight attendant's mistake turned catalyst, had blossomed into a legacy that reached far beyond first-class cabins and ticket prices. It was a legacy of dignity, respect, and boundless possibility. As Skyward Airlines soared to new heights, Marcus and Angela's vision expanded beyond the confines of their company. They understood that transforming the aviation industry required not only internal change, but reshaping the narratives that defined possibility for generations. One morning, Angela received an invitation to speak at a prestigious university's leadership symposium. The topic: leadership equity and the power of storytelling. Marcus joined her for the event, ready to share their story with eager students and faculty alike. Standing before a packed auditorium, Angela began. "Our journey started with a moment of misjudgment. A flight attendant assuming we didn't belong in first class. That moment ignited a passion to challenge assumptions and redefine what leadership looks like." Marcus followed. "Leadership means owning your mistakes, standing up for values, and inspiring others to do the same. It's about creating spaces where everyone's voice is heard and respected." The students listened, captivated by the couple's honesty and wisdom. Afterward, a young woman approached them, eyes shining with clarity. "Your story gives me hope. I've always dreamed of leading in business, but worried I wouldn't be seen or heard." Angela smiled warmly. "You are seen, you are heard, and you belong." The symposium inspired Marcus and Angela to launch a new initiative, the Skyward Leadership Academy, designed to mentor emerging leaders from underrepresented backgrounds. The program combined leadership training, mentorship, and real-world experience, providing participants with tools to break barriers and build inclusive futures. Meanwhile, Skyward Airlines continued its innovations. New eco-friendly aircraft models debuted, reflecting Marcus and Angela's commitment to sustainability and responsibility. They also expanded community partnerships, collaborating with international nonprofits to support education, equity, and empowerment worldwide. One evening, as Marcus and Angela walked along a quiet airport runway, the glow of aircraft lights shimmering against the night sky, Angela reflected aloud. "It's incredible how far we've come. From assumptions in a terminal to shaping a global movement." Marcus nodded. "And it's only the beginning. The sky has no limits." Together they gazed upward, envisioning the countless journeys yet to take flight, fueled by courage, compassion, and a legacy that would inspire generations. The years passed quickly, and Skyward Airlines became more than just a company. It grew into a community, a family bound by shared values of respect, inclusivity, and excellence. Marcus and Angela watched with pride as their vision unfolded in ways they hadn't imagined. One crisp morning, they received a letter from a young pilot named Aisha, who had been mentored through the Skyward Leadership Academy. Her words were filled with gratitude and promise. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, thank you for seeing me when others didn't. Your belief in diversity and inclusion changed the course of my life. For the first time, I feel I truly belong in the cockpit and in this industry." With gratitude, Aisha Angela wiped a tear from her eye as she shared the letter with Marcus. This is why we keep going." That afternoon, Marcus spoke at a global conference on diversity in business. He recounted the journey, from the moment when a flight attendant questioned their right to first class, to building an airline that redefined what it meant to belong. "Our legacy," he said, "is written in the stories of those we lift up. The employees, the passengers, the communities. It's a testament that respect and opportunity know no bounds. Angela added, "We lead not just by policies, but by the example we set every day, with kindness, courage, and commitment." Meanwhile, Skyward Airlines unveiled a new initiative called Wings to Dream, aimed at supporting young people from underserved communities to pursue careers in aviation and beyond. Sarah, having grown from a humble flight attendant to a respected leader, spoke passionately at the launch event. "When I first started, I never imagined I'd be here, sharing this moment with all of you. Everyone deserves a chance to be seen, to be heard, to soar." The program was a resounding success, with scholarships, internships, and workshops opening doors for dozens of aspiring aviators. At home, Marcus and Angela found solace in their family, nurturing their children with the values that had guided their lives. One evening, standing together by the window, Angela looked out at the stars. "Our story started with a single flight, a moment of misunderstanding, but it became a movement." Marcus nodded. "And it will continue, as long as there are skies to fly and dreams to chase." Their journey was a reminder to all that no assumption could dim the light of perseverance and hope, because the true first-class experience was found not in a seat or a ticket, but in the courage to rise, the grace to forgive, and the will to lead. The future was bright, but unpredictable. As Marcus and Angela stepped confidently into their next chapter, Skyward Airlines had transformed from a fledgling dream to an international movement, but none of it had come without challenges. One spring afternoon, with the buzz of the bustling airport in the background, Angela met with a group of young scholars from the Wings to Dream program. She listened as they shared their ambitions, their fears, and their hopes. One young man, Jamal, spoke with quiet determination. "I never thought I could break into aviation because of who I am. But this program has given me the tools and confidence to believe." Angela smiled, remembering her own journeys and struggles. "Jamal, it's not just about the sky. It's about the ground you stand on, knowing you belong." Meanwhile, Marcus was in a boardroom with international partners, negotiating new agreements that would expand Skyward's reach into underserved markets. The talks were complex, navigating not only business but cultural nuances and economic realities. At one point, a senior executive questioned Skyward's emphasis on inclusivity. "Is that really practical in every market?" he asked skeptically. Marcus responded calmly but firmly. "Inclusivity is not a choice. It's a necessity. To ignore it is to ignore the future. We succeed by embracing everyone, not excluding anyone." The room fell quiet, the weight of his words settling in. Back at Skyward's headquarters, Sarah prepared to lead a global webinar on inclusive leadership, sharing stories from the front lines and the boardroom alike. Her journey from that memorable day at the terminal to this moment had been profound. She was now an advocate, a mentor, and a beacon for many. That evening, Marcus and Angela reunited over dinner, reflecting on their many roles: leaders, partners, parents, and changemakers. Angela clasped Marcus's hand. "Every flight we've taken, every challenge we've faced, has brought us here." Marcus smiled, his heart full. "And the sky ahead is limitless." Together, they looked to the horizon, ready to soar into the next adventure, knowing their legacy was not just about flights, but about lifting others to their fullest heights. The momentum of Skyward Airlines and its global mission continued to grow. Yet Marcus and Angela remained grounded by a simple truth: real change takes time, persistence, and humility. One chilly autumn morning, Marcus faced a new challenge. A whistleblower report had surfaced, claiming that despite the company's commitments, pockets of discrimination still lingered in certain international offices. The news hit hard. Angela and Marcus immediately convened an internal task force to investigate. They refused to sweep concerns under the rug. "We can't ask others to be accountable if we don't hold ourselves to the highest standard," Angela stated during the meeting. Marcus agreed. "Transparency and action must be our foundation. We owe that to our employees and passengers." The investigation revealed uncomfortable truths. While much progress had been made, the complexities of varying cultures and local biases meant the work was far from finished. Marcus and Angela took this as an opportunity to double down on training, oversight, and open communication channels. They brought in diversity consultants from around the world to tailor programs sensitive to local realities while maintaining core principles. Meanwhile, Sarah took the lead in organizing listening sessions, where employees could voice experiences safely and without fear. One employee, a junior pilot named Luis, shared a story that resonated deeply. "I love working here," he began, "but sometimes I feel invisible because of where I'm from. I want to be part of the change, but I don't always know how." Sarah offered reassurance. "Your voice matters, Luis. We want to hear it." Marcus and Angela knew the importance of these moments, small steps on a long journey. At the same time, the Wings to Dream program celebrated its 5th anniversary, having supported hundreds of young people pursuing careers in aviation. Angela spoke at the gala. "Your dreams are the wind beneath our wings. Together, we're building a future where everyone can soar." As the company confronted its imperfections, it grew stronger, more resilient, more inclusive. Marcus and Angela reflected privately, one evening, on the lessons learned. "Perfection isn't the goal," Marcus said, gazing out the window at the city lights. "Progress is," Angela smiled. "And with each honest conversation, we take flight again." Their story was far from over, because true leadership wasn't about reaching a destination. It was about charting a course, adjusting for winds, and inspiring others along the way. As winter gave way to spring, Skyward Airlines embraced a new era, one marked by renewed energy, unwavering hope, and an unshakable commitment to its founding values. Marcus and Angela found themselves reflecting often on the incredible journey, one that had begun with a single moment of misunderstanding, leading to a legacy far beyond anything they had dared to imagine. One crisp morning, they gathered with the company's board and leadership team to unveil Skyward's latest initiative, the Horizon Project. This program aimed to leverage cutting-edge technology and inclusive design principles to revolutionize air travel accessibility for people of all abilities. Angela addressed the assembled group with passion. "Innovation is not just about technology. It's about making sure that innovation reaches everyone. We envision a future where every traveler feels respected, comfortable, and empowered." Marcus added, "The Horizon Project embodies our belief that when we design with empathy, when we truly listen to those most impacted, we create a better experience for all." The team applauded enthusiastically, ready to take on this forward-thinking endeavor. Meanwhile, Sarah was hard at work coordinating global training sessions to prepare staff for the new initiatives. She had grown into a confident, compassionate mentor, her past experiences now a powerful tool to inspire others. She visited flight crews and ground staff, sharing stories about the importance of kindness and cultural sensitivity. Her words resonated deeply, as employees reconsidered old assumptions and embraced new ways of thinking. Back at home, Marcus and Angela cherished quiet evenings spent with their children, sharing stories of perseverance and hope. Their legacy was not only in the airline they built, but in the values they instilled at home. One night, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Angela smiled warmly. "The greatest journeys are not the flights across the world, but the steps we take together every day," Marcus nodded. "Every act of inclusion, every word of kindness, that's what shapes the future." Together they dreamed of skies filled with possibility, where boundaries faded and hearts soared. Because their story, born from a flight attendant's mistake, had grown into a beacon for all who dared to rise above prejudice, to reach for new horizons. And as the sun set beyond the runway, painting the sky in hues of gold and blue, Marcus and Angela knew one thing for certain. The journey of change, like the flight of a plane, was infinite, forever soaring forward. Time flowed like the clouds beneath the soaring jets of Skyward Airlines, carrying with it the dreams and legacies of those who dared to chart new courses. Marcus and Angela watched with quiet pride as their children grew surrounded by stories of resilience, courage, and change. Their eldest, Maya, had recently announced her decision to join the family business, not in the boardroom, but as a passionate advocate for sustainable aviation. "I want to make sure our skies are not only inclusive but also sustainable," Maya said one evening during dinner, her eyes bright with determination. Angela smiled, the torch of hope passing gracefully to the next generation. You have your own journey to soar, and we couldn't be prouder. Marcus nodded. The future rests in your hands. And with vision like yours, I believe it's brighter than ever. Meanwhile, Skyward Airlines expanded its mentorship programs, welcoming dozens of interns and young professionals who reflected the rich diversity the company had championed from the beginning. Sarah, now a senior executive, led the charge. Her journey from flight attendant to leader had become a powerful testament to the transformative power of opportunity and belief. One bustling morning, Marcus and Angela attended the graduation ceremony of the latest cohort from the Skyward Leadership Academy. The room buzzed with excitement as young women and men, many the first in their families to reach this milestone, received their diplomas. Angela addressed the crowd. You stand on the shoulders of those who dared to dream differently, who challenged assumptions, and who built a path where none existed. Marcus added, your stories will write the next chapters of this journey. Together, you will lift skyward, and the world, higher. After the ceremony, the couple mingled with graduates, listening deeply to their hopes, fears, and aspirations. Every story reminded them that the work they began was alive, evolving, and far-reaching. Yet as the company flourished, Marcus and Angela remained humble, mindful of the struggles yet ahead in the broader world. One evening, standing beneath a sky streaked with stars, Marcus reflected aloud to Angela. Every generation faces its own storms and challenges. What matters is the courage to rise and the will to keep flying. Angela nodded, her gaze steady. And the strength to lift others as we rise. Together, they embraced the legacy they had built, a legacy more than an airline, more than innovation, more than business. A legacy of hope and belonging, and a reminder that the sky is not the limit, it's just the beginning. Marcus and Angela's work had created ripples far beyond the world of aviation. The principles they lived by, respect, inclusion, and the power of storytelling, began to inspire initiatives in other industries and communities. One morning, the couple received an unexpected invitation from the United Nations to join a global summit on social equity and leadership. It was an opportunity to share their story on the world stage and collaborate with leaders dedicated to justice and inclusion worldwide. The summit was held in a grand hall filled with delegates from every corner of the globe. As Marcus and Angela took the podium, a hush fell over the crowd. Angela began, our journey started with a painful assumption, but it became a mission. To create spaces where every voice is valued and every person can soar. Marcus added, we believe change begins with listening, learning, and leading with empathy, and it requires all of us, together, to build a more just world. Their words resonated deeply. Delegates approached them afterward, eager to discuss partnership and progress. Back home, energized by the summit, Marcus and Angela began collaborating with other industries, education, healthcare, technology, to foster inclusive leadership models. Sarah spearheaded a new Skyward initiative, a global fellowship program allowing leaders across fields to share best practices, innovate solutions, and build community. One day, Sarah visited a school partnered with the fellowship program. She spoke to students about her journey, from a moment of judgment to a lifetime of growth. Everyone deserves to be seen for who they truly are, she told them. Your story can change lives, including your own. The students listened, inspired. Meanwhile, Marcus and Angela balanced their expanding roles with family life. They found joy in simple moments, watching sunsets, sharing stories over dinner, watching their children grow into compassionate, driven young adults. One evening, Angela stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. It's incredible how one moment can change everything. Marcus joined her, taking her hand. And how many more moments are yet to come. Together, they embraced the endless sky, a symbol of hope, unity, and the boundless power of human connection. Their story was a flight plan, not just for an airline, but for a world ready to rise. Years of perseverance, courage, and vision culminated in a moment unlike any other. Skyward Airlines had become synonymous with hope, progress, and inclusivity. Not just an airline, but a movement that touched lives around the globe. Marcus and Angela stood side by side on the stage of the World Leadership Summit, the crowd's applause echoing with profound respect and admiration. It was a celebration of their journey, the obstacles they overcame, and the legacy they had created. Angela spoke first, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Our story began with an assumption, a flight attendant who thought we didn't belong in first class. That moment could have defined us, but instead, it ignited a fire. Marcus continued. We chose to rewrite the narrative, not just for ourselves, but for every person made to feel invisible or unworthy. We learned that leadership is about listening, embracing vulnerability, and standing united. As the applause settled, a montage of stories played, faces and voices, of employees, passengers, students, and leaders touched by Skyward's mission. Stories of transformation, courage, and infinite possibility. Later, as the summit concluded, Marcus and Angela embraced, knowing their journey was both an ending and a beginning. Back home, beneath a sky painted with stars, they reflected quietly. Their children had grown into leaders in their own right. New initiatives blossomed from the seeds they'd planted. But most importantly, kindness, respect, and empathy flourished among communities touched by their work. Angela whispered softly, "We set out to change one airline. We changed the world." Marcus smiled. The skies will always be wide open, and thanks to dreams and courage, so will the hearts of those who fly. Their journey was a reminder that sometimes, a single moment, no matter how small or painful, has the power to transform destinies, and while their story found its peaceful landing, the legacy of hope, inclusion, and flying beyond limitations would soar forevermore. The end.